As a mining engineer and an underground miner, I've been assigned today to talk to you about the underground or root vegetables. I'm going to talk about 3 different vegetables today that are representative of different groups of the root vegetables. But before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about some general characteristics of these. The first characteristic is that they need to be on well-drained soil. If you were going to sit through the winter in wet soil all the time, you would rot, and so will they. The next thing they need to be is they need to be deeply tilled, because these are vegetables that are going to grow into the ground and they need some place to grow. So you should till your soil at least 12 inches into the ground, or maybe a little further. Now, to protect them from the cold, the easiest thing to do is to take about 2 inches of soil and mound that soil up around the stems when it gets cold in the winter, and that will protect them through the winter. And if you prepare them like that, then you can harvest these vegetables, leave them in the ground, and take them as you need them all winter long. Carrots are the first vegetable type I'm going to talk about, and the variety that we found that both of our commercial growers that we talked to here in the area used was the Nantes Bolero, and that was a very sweet, very nice one. You need to plant these in late July for winter harvest. Problems that you have sometimes with the carrots, the most serious one is the carrot rust fly. Now, the carrot rust fly goes through 3 cycles of hatching out, and if you can avoid the first cycle of hatching out, the other 2 will probably not be a problem because they'll be subdued. So what you need to do if you're going to have carrot-type vegetables in May, which is when the first cycle occurs, you need to either cover your crops or not have that first planting in that particular area. You also need to be careful about carrot-type weeds. There are a lot of weeds that also attract these flies, and they'll come into your garden. The second thing that happens often is you'll see your carrot splitting, and you'll see 3 or 4 small stems growing out instead of a large carrot. What that's indicative of is they're hitting things in the soil like rocks or sticks, and so you need to remove all of those from soil in a carrot location. And the last thing is sun scald, and that will happen early on, right after you plant them in July during the heat of August. And so you need to stack a little bit of soil around the top of them again, so that the top part of the carrot below the stem is not sticking out. The next vegetable I'd like to talk about is the Jerusalem artichoke. The Jerusalem artichoke is like a sunflower, and it has tubers, however. And when you plant the tubers, and when you get the tubers, you actually plant those sometime between November and March for next year's harvest. You harvest them like potatoes, and they grow like potatoes. They're a hardy plant, and they're basically pest-free, and they also will compete quite favorably with weeds. So if you plant Jerusalem artichokes in an area, they'll take over, and you probably won't have any weeds in that area. They'll take any kind of soil. They'll grow in almost any kind of soil. But at the end of the time when you harvest them, if you don't want them in the same location next year, you better be careful to spade up and get all the tubers out, or they'll be back again next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. The last group I'd like to talk about is leeks. Leeks are a large, sweet onion, and they're best grown by planting them in flats in July, and then let them grow a while and transplant them into the ground in early September. Leeks are pest tolerant. In fact, a lot of people say that if you plant leeks around your garden, that they'll drive away all the flying pests and bugs, and you won't have those pests in your garden. However, there's no scientific data that backs that up at the present time. One way to get the sweetest leek is to do a process called blanching. And in blanching, what you do is every 3 weeks in the fall, you build up about 1 inch of soil around your leek until you have 4 inches by the time it gets to really cold winter. What that does is it causes the leek white area to expand, which is the area that you want to have, and it also causes the leek to store more sugar. So blanching is a good technique to use to get your best leeks. And then when they're 24 inches tall, you can start harvesting anytime the rest of the winter. So in conclusion, what I'd like to say, plant them, cover them with soil, dig them up, and eat them. I'll turn the program over to Dave Bell now, who's going to talk to you about herbs.